Hey, what's up, Internet? It's the end of the second day of Archnemesis, and we have quite a bit more to talk about. Um, Today was almost entirely Atlas Progress Day. I've been trying to dig deeper into the Atlas while also not really leaving anything behind. You know, I'm not trying to rush all the way to Tier 16. Today, I was trying to make sure everything that I could do that I was dropping got done. Um, and we've been pretty successful. I'm 79 out of 117, so I've got, what, 37 maps left? 38? It's 235. Please don't ask me to do even simple math. But at the start of the stream, I had bought a bunch of new gear. My helmet is actually still from the campaign, but it was a pretty decent helmet, so I kept it. We just have thrown a couple of the little red and blue boogers that drop in maps to get some random buffs on these. But I had a bunch of currency left. I don't have much now, but I think I had like 65 at the start from the leftovers from the Exalt yesterday. So I bought a bunch of things. I got some Totems gloves like usual, damage with hits against chilled enemies and some good resists. I got some nice boots. These are one of the most expensive things I bought. I think I paid like 20C for these. Just good life mana resists, lots of movement speed. I got a nice simple belt, life mana res, kind of a simple amulet. Most of these items were like 5C. I got a nice wand. This was only I think 8C because it was corrupted. One thing you got to remember when dealing with wands, don't be as scared about corrupted. You can't enchant them, for example, but you can force link and force color these on the bench by paying the whatever the price of the craft is. So if we went down to the sockets, right, these here, you can still do these on corrupted items. It just, like if it says 4 chromes, it would take 4 chromes, 4 vols. And so I was still able to pretty cheaply 3-link this. Like 3-link is like, you know, 4 fusings, 4 vols. It was pretty easy. So keep an eye out. Wands are one of the places where you can get good value out of a corrupted item. We also got our 6-link Soul Mantle today. That happened later in the day. These things are, as you might expect, pretty cheap. Nobody seems super interested in playing Freezing Pulse totems. But that sort of works out for us, right? The other thing I got was a Freezing Pulse 2120. This was 10C. To give you an idea of how many people are playing Freezing Pulse. Not many. 10 chaos for that. I bought an Ice Spear too, which is somewhere here. Yeah, it was a 2110. I paid 3 chaos for that. Haven't even had to use it yet. I don't even have a GMP for it. Just been doing map progress, right? So we don't really need Ice Spear for those. But all told, I basically paid 60 chaos for tons of upgrades. I got a Clear Mind. And along with all the Atlas progress, we got a lot of Atlas skill points. And I kind of wanted to talk briefly about the Atlas skill tree and what I've been doing with it, because I know this is one of the more common questions I got today. Here's my simple recommendation, because obviously none of us have used this before, right? So none of us are really experts at it, but it was pretty clear to me that with the Atlas completion bonus that we used to get is missing, and you're expected to use your skill points to get the bulk of that value back, right? You'll get way more skill points than you would need to do that, but they expect you to do some of the investment, right? Like that's why they have it in the travel. But I wanted to put as much of that investment back into getting more skill points and getting more map progression as fast as I could. So in my opinion, that was coming up to here, stopping for these 3 minor nodes, like 3 extra rare monsters is really strong early. Your blue maps, like when you run these tier 1 to tier 5s and they're blue, you don't get very many rares. Maybe like 3 to 5 at best. So getting 3 more on top of that's really good, because rares are one of the biggest sources of map drops in those tiers outside of the map boss themselves. So this is a really nice pit stop. I picked this up, this Spoils of War 2, but you could honestly justify skipping it. I think they have this backwards. I think the rare monster duplication is much more powerful than this effect, so you know, their loss. But I came up here and then I went straight down both sides, and I went to these shaping wheels. These wheels are sort of the replacement for the core completion bonus, which was a chance of getting a map 1 tier higher when it drops. And you need all 4 of these nodes to get 100%, and they're minor nodes. Each one also has a special effect. This one's like 15% chance, or a 3% chance to gain a special map crafting option. And if you don't know what those are, they're basically like, this is one of them, right? These like golden crafts. They're replacements for some of the things they removed in Prophecy mostly. So you can find things like Monstrous Treasure. I think the frogs will be in here. Corrupting, all the Tempests will be in here, things like that. The other wheel is for regular crafts. So like Ambush, Harbinger, Infused, things like that. So after I got these 2 wheels, I came up the left side of Kirak for these increased Kirak missions and chance for scouting reports. Scouting reports are basically ways to refresh what maps Kirak has in his missions, which are a lot like Zana missions. You can look at all 3 tiers, and if you don't like them, you can use the scouting report without spending your mission. And there are different kinds of scouting. See, this one has corrupts all the non-unique maps when you use it. So if I use that and then I clicked here, all of the ones that weren't unique would be corrupted. So there's a bunch of different kinds. There's Blighted, there's Delirium. The Explorers is probably the best. The ones you're going to get early on are Explorers. They'll try to give you ones that you don't have completion for. So once I had all these 4 done, we'll get back to shaping the valleys and talk about this. But once I got this one and all these Kirak things, I decided to invest into Harvest first. And I think this is a pretty good choice, especially for Freezing Pulse and like Siege Ballista, because Harvest is probably the best way to get the Sleepless Sentries and Ancestral Echo Cluster Jewel. I actually crafted 2 of these today. I crafted one for somebody in chat and one for myself. And the secret is really just get all of the Harvest chance nodes, like down here. Come over here to Bumper Crop for more craft options and an additional harvest every time it procs. Like every time you get a harvest. I took Bumper Crop too, just to get additional monsters. And just pump literally every reroll craft into your totem medium. Like just carry a totem base, throw every single reroll at it. Because while you can get, let's look at this one. So Ancestral Echo is attack caster speed, but Sleepless Sentries has no tags. There's no like type of harvest craft that will specifically target that. All you can do is make sure you have a medium totem cluster that is item level 68 or higher. Ideally, it won't be higher than 82 for keeping one other mod out of your mod pool. But just get the 4 or 5 passive one and just slam every harvest craft into it. The only ones you can't use, I think, are like critical and physical, I think, won't work on totem mediums. But all the other ones do. And the attack, caster, and speed ones have a better chance of rolling Ancestral Echo too. So that's why I went Harvest first, and it definitely paid off. Like if I hadn't given a deal to the person in chat, that cluster would have been like another Exalt, basically. So, and the bases are like 10 to 15 C right now. After that, as you can see, I picked up the Shrine. I'm going to also come over here and pick up the other Shrine stuff. I think this is going to be really powerful once I get more skill points and I can back out of some of this Kirak stuff to invest more into this Shaping the Valleys. But I wanted a pit stop for Alva because A, I wanted more Topatante options, and B, I want to stack up Alva missions for later. Because what I really want to do is try and leverage this Fortune Favors the Brave node. This gives 10 pack size. 10 pack size when using Fortune Favors the Brave. Fortune Favors the Brave is your map device option that costs, normally it costs 3 chaos. I have 2 free ones. What it does is it picks one of the default 7 others, like Ritual, Beyond, Harvey, all these normal ones. It just picks one at random, but you only pay 3C. So typically, they're all 3C or higher. Only Abyss is cheaper. So you're going to pay less on average than any of these. Ritual is like 13C. You got a 1 out of 7 even chance of hitting it. But my idea is going to be to really go hard and invest into basically all the mechanics that could show up in Fortune Favors the Brave and just try to like maximize the return of using Fortune Favors the Brave, because getting 10 pack size on a map is crazy. Like, it's so much more than quant or rarity. Like, if you look at this map, it has only like 5 mods on it, right? It still gets 82 quant from that, but only 24 pack size. Getting another 10 pack size is humongous for this map. So this Fortune Favors the Brave thing, I think, is not going to be like a super end game. Like, you know, I have a 150 to 200 exalt character, and I want to get the most profit necessarily out of the Atlas skill tree. It's going to be like, I have a strong character, and I kind of want to get the most value out of a almost Alch and Go playstyle. That's going to be my goal, and I want a lot of Alva missions for that. I'll probably talk even more about that in a future video. But let's do a walk and talk. I don't have Dig complete, so let's go in here and talk about Freezing Pulse Totems, because obviously I was pretty annoyed yesterday about how far off my estimates were from reality. Thankfully, what I can say is that partly thanks to how cheap upgrades have been for this build, you know, it's really cheap 6-link Soul Mantle and cheap 2120 Freezing Pulse certainly helps. I'm not going to do this harvest on video. I'll spare you that. I'll come back for this. But as you can see, I'm like 88 right now, and we're still trucking along quite well in red maps at this point. I should probably be like a little bit further if I was really pushing for like speed and efficiency, but I've been trying to like take my time and get everything done very thoroughly. As far as the lead mechanic, the Archnemesis, I'm not going to spend too much time on it in this video. I still like it, but I think it's pretty simple, and I think some people are right in that it's kind of like a metamorph that's a little less convenient in some ways. I still enjoy it. I like fiddling with it, but I also find it pretty easy to ignore, which is, I feel like, is a good thing, because there's so much stuff to learn. Like these altars. This is an Eldritch Influence map, so I have Eldritch Influence on here, just like a Maven, but instead of putting Maven on the boss, it puts these altars in the map, and you can choose. So I can get minus 40 cold and lightning res, and I will get a quant rarity bonus. I think that would be a bad idea, because it will put me into the 60s on lightning res. But the map boss can chill me with hits, which is pretty okay, in exchange for 2 Ichor items. So I'm going to choose that one. This always spawns monsters, by the way, when you click an altar. I'll spare you the expedition too. We'll try to go to the boss now and see the impact of this. I think getting 2 orbs of currency in exchange for that is pretty fair. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of tell the loss of projectiles, it doesn't feel that serious to me. I figured it wouldn't, and that's still been true. I'm a little worried, like, if the damage is going to start to fall off. But right now, it hasn't really had any trouble keeping up with progression, especially for, like, the relatively low amount of money I feel like I put into it. Oh no, she chilled me. I've also been pretty happy with this Sigil of Power. I wonder if I can see the boss really quick. Oh, she died. But I've actually been able to put decent sized shocks on these map bosses still, with just the lightning damage coming from higher stages of Sigil of Power. So that's been proving pretty cool. I think I like it more than a vault skill. So yeah, that was a map I haven't completed. I think that was not corrupted. So I guess technically I didn't complete it anyway. That feels pretty bad, man. I like catching stuff like that on video to feel extra stupid in the morning. But I guess I'll be doing that map again. But we did get a couple of these So we got a Grand Eldritch Ichor. So this is the tier 3. There's 3 out of 4 tiers, and I think the 4th tier can only drop from the pinnacle bosses, like the Searing Exarch and the Eater of Worlds. This is probably the highest tier that drops in maps. I have Projectiles Pierce and Additional Target. That's pretty bad for an Eldritch implicit, because obviously my Freezing Pulse and my Ice Spear have no piercing limitations. So I'll probably try to replace this. And this gave us, well, unique enemies in our presence, 55 accuracy rating per frenzy charge. So that's not very interesting. Now, the more responsible thing to do, I suppose, would be to go to PoE DB and look up all these affixes and know exactly what you might get. But, where's the fun in that? The Orb of Annulments are pretty interesting, though, because this allows you to target at least a prefix or a suffix by choosing, like, which of the two has a higher tier. So this one has a lesser Searing Arc and a Grand Eater of Worlds. So the Eater of Worlds is dominant, so I know that this would remove a suffix. So there's definitely some new interesting crafting options that you have pretty direct control over for the way Grinding Gear has been treating crafting lately. So that's pretty cool, I think. Anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. As far as Freezing Pulse goes, I have to say, it still feels fine so far as a League starter. The upgrades have been cheap. Maybe they'll stay cheap, considering I don't think people are going to ever consider Soul Mantle as strong as it was. It's pretty hard for me to feel like, I think I've died like only 4 times. 2 of those were actually in the campaign in Act 1. I died twice trying to juice up those Nemesis things to the max tier when I didn't even have things like, you know, the ability to unfreeze myself. So I died a couple times pushing my luck, trying to get a tabula. And then I've died twice in maps to some, you know, pretty nasty. I died in like fields that had 2 extra projectiles and then 2 stacks, like a 90% fire and 80% lightning or something. No like serious issues really with survivability so far. I haven't felt like I've been lacking in damage really. Could be going a lot worse, so I'm still pretty happy with how it feels, and obviously we still have a bunch of room to grow, right? We would like to get a Viridi's Veil and a Coward's Legacy and replace this ring. Definitely get some better weapons and stuff. There's plenty of room to get quite a bit more damage if we feel like we need it to get further in the Atlas. But at the moment, I don't really expect that my damage is going to feel bad all the way through to tier 16. There's still some like gem quality stuff that I gotta fix. It feels pretty smooth. I don't know what to say. I feel like I was a little bit more concerned yesterday about like, man, it's missing more total DPS than I expected, but I guess bolstered by the fact that nobody wants this gear and it's much cheaper than maybe it should be, I'm cruising right along, and I would be pretty happy to League start this if the gear stayed in that kind of price range again. But it's almost 3 AM. I've been rambling long enough. I will be back tomorrow to stream over on Twitch TV/WallachTV if you want to see more progress on this build, or if you want to ask me any questions about Siege Ballista, feel free to stop by. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow in the next video. Peace.